Hey everybody, welcome. It's me, Legal Vices, and welcome to Legal Vices. This channel of mine here, we got started during the Johnny Depp trial, and now we're going to bring this whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing to a close. If you haven't seen the news, as it says in the thumbnail, a settlement has been reached in this case, and it worked itself out in a way that I was very similar to what I thought would likely happen if the sides were amenable to it. The short part of the story here is $1 million Amber Heard pays to Johnny Depp. Correction, $1 million that her insurance company will pay to Johnny Depp. There's not a penny of this is coming out of her back pocket. So she kind of gets off scot-free from all of this. Her insurance company has to pay the bill. The insurance company pays it. I have no idea how that's all going to work out for the lawyer's fees. She owes some hefty lawyer's fees, but the actual settlement itself is coming from the insurance company. Let's look at this here, and then one news story, and then we'll give a little bit of a commentary on it. I was surprised that this sort of seemed to kind of come out of the blue. There hadn't been any indication that settlement negotiations were underway, but we'll talk about that here in just a quick second. Amber Heard agrees to pay Johnny Depp $1 million, actress says. I have never chose this. And tells fans, my life as I knew it was destroyed by social media vilification. We'll break her comments down with her statement a little bit later on. For now, gotta keep it down, gotta control myself, and just get through the facts of the article until we get to her statement. And her insurers pay ex-husband settlement in defamation lawsuit. Johnny Depp and ex-wife Amber Heard have finally settled their defamation claims against each other, putting an end to the most bitter Hollywood divorce in modern times. The pair's lawyers have thrashed out a deal which will see Heard's insurance company pay Depp $1 million. But an important victory for the actress. There are no restrictions about what she can talk about in regard to the case, and she has accepted no guilt. Mailman can reveal. The mail online can reveal. The pair have been locked in a bitter legal battle on both sides of the Atlantic over the last 6 years, after Heard alleged she was a victim of domestic violence during their 15-month marriage. A courtroom in London found in her favor. God, I hate when they report this wrong. No, it didn't. It found in the defendants in that lawsuit's favor. She was not a defendant in that lawsuit. She had nothing to do with that lawsuit. Get your damn story straight. Well, consider the source here for this article, the Daily Mail in UK, not always exactly the most accurate. But no, a courtroom in London did not find in Amber Heard's favor. But a second case in Fairfax, Virginia this year came out on Depp's side. The actress, 36, was ordered to pay $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million, later reduced to $365,000 in punitive damages following the 6-week case. While Depp, 59, was told to give her $2 million by the same courtroom after Heard countersued for defamation. The couple in happier times. The pair's legal teams have been locked in discussions to avoid the pain of bruising third trial after Heard filed the appeal. No, it would be his third, her second. A deal was finally made over the weekend, with both sides agreeing to put out a statement today at 2 p.m. GMT, 9 a.m. Eastern. Amber is now looking forward to moving on with her life, as she planned to do 6 years ago. A source close to the actress told Mail Online. She wants to put this unfortunate episode behind her and turn to what she loves in her life, her career, her family, and her causes. In a bombshell statement posted on Instagram by Heard, she said, my life as I knew it was destroyed by the court cases. She added that she has lost all faith in getting justice in the American legal system, comparing it to her treatment in the UK courts. Okay, got to keep it down until we get to the statement. And claimed that her former husband had won in the Virginia courtroom because of a vote for popularity and power over reason and due process. Having already sold her home in LA to help fund legal action, that was speculation whether she was doing that. It could have also been a bid to hide assets because she knew she was going to lose the appeal. She had his judgment against her. She has to get rid of her assets so that you can't come after them and attach them and use the assets, sell them at auction to pay back the the debt to pay the debt that's owed under the judgment. That can also be a reason, not necessarily to help fund her legal fees. We're reaching with this, I think. I'm inclined to head towards my belief that it was an asset hiding thing. And that all comes into play with her basically essentially fleeing the country, selling her house here, taking the money and going somewhere else. I make this decision having lost faith in the American legal system where my unprotected testimony served as entertainment and social media fodder. This is the whole statement here. Let's read the statement in its entirety and comment on it. After a great deal of deliberation, I have made a very difficult decision to settle my defamation case brought against me by my ex-husband in Virginia. It's important for me to say that I never chose this. Yes, you did. You chose this by lying about him. You didn't think he would bring these defamation claims against you, but he did. You chose this by defaming him. And how do I know you defamed him? The jury found it. That's what the jury decided. And we all saw the trial. We saw the trial. We saw your behavior. We saw your lies. We saw you get caught time and time again, exaggerating, falsifying, and generally, dare I say, perjure yourself on the stand. That's your responsibility. You chose this, Amber Heard. I defended my truth. There is not your truth and his truth. There is the truth. And the job of the jury is to find out, to listen and evaluate the evidence from both sides and try to find who is closest to the actual truth. Who is more believable? Whose point of view comes closer to what the understanding of the objective truth is? That's the jury's responsibility. They believe Johnny Depp over you. There is no your truth and his truth. The vilification I have faced on social media is an amplified version of the ways in which women are re-victimized when they come forward. You have to be victimized first to be re-victimized. It's not there. It's not there. All these reports of you, all these statements given by you that you're repeatedly bashed in the face, your nose is broken, you're drugged barefoot through broken glass, you've had things shattered next to your head, you've been assaulted by bottles inserted into orifices, you've been your face has been shoved in a pillow, you've been choked, you've been had your head slammed into buildings. All of these things are not evidenced by a single photograph, a single witness with any credibility whatsoever. So you have to be victimized before you can be re-victimized. This was the introduction to Men Too, the death, hopefully, of Me Too, because Me Too movement has grown far beyond its bounds. Women believe all women? No. Believe some women? I would even go so far as to say no to that. What do? Listen to all women. Investigate. Listen and investigate. Listen and assess. Don't just believe someone is telling the truth because they have mammary glands and ovaries. That does not necessarily mean they're telling the truth. Listen, be skeptical, but listen and find out. Don't just blindly accept anything. Now I finally have an opportunity to emancipate myself from something I attempted to leave over 6 years ago, and on terms that I can agree to. She's trying to put herself in the driver's seat here. It's not working. She had the opportunity to walk away from it by not saying the initial comment. She had the possibility of walking away from this by not filing an appeal, just paying what was owed by the court. No, she filed the appeal. She wanted to get more into this. Depp is the one who wants to be left alone, and that's what he's doing. He's moving on. I have made no admission. This is not an act of concession. There are no restrictions or gags with respect to my voice moving forward. Well, There are the gags of law. Go ahead, make another defamatory statement and see what happens. I don't I don't think Depp is going to do it, but if you make more brand new defamatory statements, you can be silenced again through another lawsuit. I would warn her to be very, very careful. Don't rely on your expectations of goodwill from this ex-husband that you drugged through the trial, through all the years of abuse that he suffered. But it'll be interesting to see what she does going forward now that she's emphasized that she doesn't have any gag order or non-disclosure or anything like that. I make this decision having lost faith in the American legal system. This case has re-emphasized and redeveloped my faith in the American legal system, where a superstar man who is accused of doing these horrific things to a poor, helpless, defenseless woman was vindicated in the courts. This American legal system worked exactly the way it was supposed to, and it came to the precise conclusion it should have come to, except for awarding her $2 million in her defamation suit against him. I I think that was a compromise. The jury wanted to go home, so they said, "All right, we'll give him 10, give her 2, let them work it out. Bye, let's go home." That's my only problem I have with the verdict, with the judgment in that case. When I stood before a judge in the UK, I was vindicated by a robust, impartial, and fair system. Okay, technically, I guess we can say you stood before a judge in the UK. It wasn't your lawsuit. You were not a named party to it. Where I was protected from having to give the worst moments of my testimony in front of the world's media. Different case, different situation. You were not a defendant. You were not a claimant. In this case, you were both a claimant and a defendant. You are a party to the lawsuit. You are open to more scrutiny than you were as a witness in the UK proceedings. And there were and where the court found that I was subjected to domestic and sexual violence. In the US, however, I exhausted almost all of my resources in advance of and during a trial in which I was subjected to a courtroom in which abundant direct evidence that corroborated my testimony was excluded. Where is it? After the trial is over, why didn't you show it to us? You'd made the rounds of all of these talk shows. Your lawyer, Elaine, she was on one before she realized that it was a really stupid thing for her to do to go on these shows. So she stopped. But you've been out there. Show us what wasn't allowed in court and explain why it wasn't allowed in court. Bring it out. Show it. Where was it? You never showed it, Amber Heard. What the only thing you did bring in was notes allegedly from your psychiatrist or therapist or whoever she was that looked suspiciously like your own handwriting. Where's the photos? Where's all these photos that were suppressed of your gashed open head, your broken nose, your bruised butt? Where are they? Where is this mountain of evidence? Bring it out now. Bring it out today if you're going to stick by that story. And in which popularity and power mattered more than reason and due process. Oh, no, no, no. Reason was there, due process was there. That mattered. It functioned properly. In the interim, I was exposed to a type of humiliation that I simply cannot relive. Even if my US appeal is successful, the best outcome would be a retrial, where a new jury would have to consider the evidence again. I simply cannot go through that for a third time. You only went through it twice, babe. Time is precious, and I want to spend my time productively and purposefully. For too many years, I've been caged in an arduous and expensive legal process, which has shown itself unable to protect me and my right to free speech. Oh, you have a right to free speech. You just don't have a right to defame someone. See how that works? You have the right to free speech as long as it doesn't infringe on someone else's rights. I cannot afford to risk an impossible bill, one that is not just financial, but also psychological, physical, and emotional. Women shouldn't have to face abuse or bankruptcy for speaking her truth. But unfortunately, it is not uncommon. Again, truth is truth. We just try to get as close as we can to the truth through the presentation of evidence. The evidence presented in your trial was clearly in Johnny Depp's favor. Hands down, clearly, no question in his favor. Women shouldn't have to face abuse for speaking out about actual abuse. Neither should men. Neither should men like Johnny Depp. In settling this case, I am also choosing the freedom to dedicate my time to the work that helped me heal after my divorce. Work that exists in realms in which I feel seen. Oh, how ugh, I hate that. I feel seen, heard, and believed, and in which I know I can affect change. I wonder what that is. It's certainly not going to be acting. I will not be threatened, disheartened or dissuaded by what happened from speaking the truth. No one can and no one will take that from me. My voice remains the most valuable asset I have. Yeah, because your acting assets are done. They're gone. They're no longer of any value to you. I'd like to thank my outstanding appellate and original trial teams for their relentless hard work. I want to thank everyone who has supported me, and I turn my attention to the growing support that I felt and seen publicly in the months since the trial, and the efforts that have been made to show solidarity with my story. Any survivor knows that the ability to tell their story often feels like the only relief, and I cannot find enough words to tell you the hope your belief in me inspires, not just for me, but for all of you. Thank you. See you soon. G. Amber. Thanks. Eve Barlow, love you always, my warrior friend. And Amber Amber Heard likes her own story. That that just kind of sums it up, doesn't it? She likes her own story. Don't like your own post. And it just kind of reiterates the article her statement going down here. Time is precious. Ugh. Is the winner, Johnny Depp. Depp is expected to put out his own statement imminently. We have Ben Chu's statement here that I'll read in just a second. While the former Pirates of the Caribbean star Depp has attempted to restart his career, oh, not attempted, he has restarted his career, bozos. It is clear that the litigation has had a huge effect on it. The actor was fired from the Fantastic Beasts franchise after the London court case. Earlier this month, when his name was on a long list of music, which could be Brit Award winners, there were reports that the female musicians would boycott the event if he were on the short list. Well, good. They should have done it. Earlier this month, when his okay, we just read that. Heard, meanwhile, has become so worried about her safety that she felt forced to leave America with her daughter Una, and is now living in an unknown country. Yeah, no, she didn't flee for her safety. She fled because she was trying to avoid service of process, most likely. Allegedly, that's what she was done. She was trying to delay the service of Johnny Depp's appeals on her, and again, hiding assets. You go to some country where they don't have the same laws that we have here in the States, and that can really, really make it difficult to enforce a judgment against your assets in another country, especially if it's a country that has a legal system that is markedly different than that of the United States. That's a big part of what I do in my practice. We try to enforce foreign judgments in Korea and Korean judgments in foreign countries, and it can be pretty tricky even in the best of circumstances. So, one way to attempt to do this, which, as a lawyer, I would never advise you to do, is to take your assets and move them to another country. Gee, sound like what she did? Maybe. Her career has also taken a huge knock, thanks in part to a vicious social media assault on her. She brought it on herself. Although earlier this year, she filmed independent movie The Fire. Was it really that and remains a part of the Aquaman 2 film, which is out next year. Last month, an influential open letter campaign involving more than 200 domestic abuse campaigners and organizations hit out at the ongoing attacks on Heard, saying much of this harassment was fueled by disinformation, misogyny, biphobia. That's a thing now, biphobia. And a monetized social media environment where a woman's allegation of domestic violence and sexual assault were mocked for entertainment. This was all part of the amicus briefs that were filed. It, it, those were just an absolute disaster from square one. They made stupid points that had nothing to do with the appeals. They just talked about the original trial, which again has nothing to do with the appeals. They were utterly ridiculous, pointless, and of no merit or weight whatsoever. The actress has pledged to continue to be a voice speaking up for women's rights. The vicious court battle between Heard and Depp stunned the world. Yeah, we all watched it. and we just get their a litany of their things that have gone on since then. The case was viciously debated on social media for 6 weeks. By the end, both of their reputations had been shattered among the counter allegations of lies, abhorrent behavior, and violence. And it worked out exactly the way it should have worked out. Now we've got this settlement here. Let's read what Ben Chu had to say about this. This is the Ben Chu. So in a statement, representatives for Depp said that as part of the settlement, Heard had agreed to pay the Pirates of the Caribbean actor $1 million. We are pleased to formally close the door on this painful chapter for Mr. Depp, who made clear throughout this process that his priority was about bringing the truth to light, said Depp attorney Benjamin Chu and Camille Vasquez. The jury's unanimous decision and the resulting judgment in Mr. Depp's favor against Ms. Heard remained fully in place. The payment of $1 million, which Mr. Depp is pledging and will actually donate to charities. I love that. That's great. He's pledged to donate the $1 million to charities. Because we all remember that she pledged $7 million of their divorce money to charity, and she paid virtually none of it, just a couple of $100,000. And that was a point in the trial. She pledged, but she didn't actually do it. So I like this statement. Still, just Ben Chu is good at getting these digs in, and he gets the last little dig in there, just right there at the end. The payment of $1 million, which Mr. Depp is pledging and will actually donate to charities, reinforces Ms. Heard's acknowledgement of the conclusions of the legal system's rigorous pursuit for justice. Absolutely, absolutely a great, concise, and powerful statement. So, what do I think? Why are we here? Why do we have this settlement? I think the answer is simple. She realized that her appeal chances are zero. I mean, you can never say something is absolutely zero, but a statistically close to 0% chance of winning as you can be without actually being zero. She realized, especially with these useless amicus briefs, she realized that there was no errors made. She was going to get her ass handed to her on this appeal. And she decided to try to negotiate a way out of it by paying less than that, far less than that. And it seems that worked out. And this is the one thing I was saying from early on in the trial when I first became involved in this, was that I can see if this goes to the end, Johnny Depp saying, if she drops her appeals against me, I will drop my appeals against her. I don't think he wanted the money in this case. He wanted his name and reputation back. He's got his name and reputation back. He was vindicated by the courts. They sided with him. He got his huge award, and it almost turned out that way. I didn't expect him to take the million, but I certainly don't begrudge him for taking the $1 million, demanding at least something back for his legal fees. I'm sure his legal fees were way beyond $1 million, but he got something out of it. I don't fault him for that. Don't begrudge him for that at all. In fact, he's much more generous than I am. I would take it, and I would take it all for myself. He's taking the $1 million and he's giving it to charity. That's a fine thing to do. And I think her case was so weak. She finally to get to this point to realize that she has very little chance, to almost zero chance of winning the appeal. She's trying to find a way out of it. She finds a way where her insurance company can pay the $1 million, so nothing comes out of her back pocket. It's not her dime. Why the hell should she care? The insurance company pays it. He gives it to charity. It's done. The case is over. Amber Heard, you are a loser again. Johnny Depp has won another round. This time he's won the final round. And I tend to agree with Benjamin Chu and Camille Vasquez when they say that her agreeing to pay this $1 million and agreeing to settle it in exchange for a mutual withdrawal of the appeals just reinforces her acknowledgement that the trial court that ruled almost entirely in Johnny Depp's favor got the correct answer. I don't know that we'll be talking about this case anymore, but if something pops up in the future that it significantly deals with this, we'll look at it. But if you've watched it this long, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel where we cover lots of legal news, legal adjacent news. We follow some important trials. We have some coming up. And please, until we meet again, don't forget to enjoy your legal vices. Bye.